Hey everybody, Sandy here over here with I think episode 4 of the My Side of the Fence podcast. I am here with Mark Wolfe, a city council member for...
Ever.
17
years, July 1st.
years, wow. Yeah, I remember when I was on the council, one of the older council members says, look, you gotta do 12 years at least. And I said, I'll do 8. But you're making up for it. I usually start with, or I let people do the, kind of an introduction.
Sure.
Like, I know that you're from the Midwest. How did you end up here?
I ended up here. I was working for Hertz Rent-A-Car at the time in Dallas, and they called me up one day and said we're putting together what they called the Dream Team to come to their DC operations and clean house and fix it.
Oh, wow.
And I was selected to be a part of that. And it was one of those, you volunteered for this, right? And we're going to give you a huge pay raise. We're into like 50% pay raise, which of course, moving from Dallas to DC was not nearly enough.
It was 0.
And the actual story, Amy was 9 months pregnant. And
so you guys were married when you were in Dallas?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we had Colin, and she was pregnant with Cece, and she got permission from the doctor. She's like, this is the last day you can fly. So flew up, had a long weekend, had the corporate realtor, sort of the typical thing. And she showed us places in Reston and Herndon and stuff like that A, we probably couldn't afford, and B, were just garbage.
Right.
And Amy saw an ad in the Post about homes sale the Van Meter was having on homes in Manassas. And we were like, what about Manassas? She goes, well, it's a little further away, but I was going to be working at Dulles. And so we drove down here, and one day bought a house, chose everything. She flew home, and 2-3 weeks later we had Cece, and 2 weeks after that we packed up the house and moved to Manassas.
That's getting it done.
It was the way it was done back in the day.
That's getting it done.
So that was 1990.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And what did you do? I know, did you work at Amex?
Yeah. So after Hertz, I worked at Amex. I was the COO of their East Coast operations and their financial services unit for
cool.
years and years and years, and various other nefarious and sundry things.
And then you, what made you run for city council?
Well, you weren't at that center. So what made me run for? So this was 2008, 7. And what had happened was at Amex. I don't share this story very often, but at Amex, I was king of the universe. I mean, I had a great job, and I was killing it, and I was locked in, and I was sort of looking for the next opportunity. And Amex being Amex, they posted a position in London.
Oh, wow.
Running Amex Bank from London to Singapore.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it was the job of a lifetime.
Right.
And it was just like, oh my, and I was literally the one person in the universe that had every criteria, every qualification, including the licenses and the experience and all this stuff.
Right.
To the extent where they asked me, could you get an early work visa in the UK? And I was like, I actually got a buddy. I could do this. So I was done, and signed, sealed, delivered. And went home, and one day Amy was just like, I don't want to go. And she had started the ballet and been working at the ballet and trying to build that into what it is and what hopefully it'll become. And she was like, I'll never be able to replicate that anywhere else.
Yeah, that would be tough.
So I had to have a really hard conversation with people at Amex, as you might imagine, and say, not so much. But at that point, it was, okay, Manassas is going to be our forever home. And I'd studied political science and history and stuff in school, and so it was sort of like, and Manassas was at a low point.
It was.
Sort of like when you first ran for office and
Yeah.
we did Battle Street, you led the way on Battle Street,
Yeah,
different things
yeah.
together. It was at a low point, and so there was a meeting in my family room. Sort of the usual suspects, a bunch of old white guys.
Right.
And it was all about, well, gee, here's what we need to do for the city. And then it was decided, to make change, you need to have political power.
Yes.
And so everyone went around the room, actually started on my left and went around the room, and everyone had a reason not to. And it came back to me, and this is after Colin had been killed in Iraq.
Right.
And I was just like, I can't do less than what I taught my kids to do, which was stand up and do the right thing and be willing to be a part of the solution. So I hadn't really planned on ever doing it, or it was not.
You were the guy that wasn't paying attention, and everyone else took a step.
Yeah. I was like the last man in the room. And like, oops. So ran for office, and this was back in May elections.
Oh, yeah.
There are very few people around that remember May elections.
Yeah, no.
Whole
different ball of wax.
Yeah, totally, utterly different. Won the first election. I think I had 1,200 votes or something like that. Whopping, and been doing it ever since.
I remember that debate well, with Steve, right?
Yes.
He was kind of leading the way on that. And he asked me what I thought, what I supported. And I said, I support the referendum. If you're going to do this, you need to put it to the citizens, right? But I never thought the November election was a great idea. I was persuaded that number one, it's lost in a presidential year.
Yeah, to some degree. Yeah,
it's lost. And the people that vote in May are probably better informed. Of course, now that's almost impossible. There's no local paper. Really.
Yeah.
We have some online guys, Uriah and the other folks. They try. They really do. But they have to cover a tremendous amount of area with just one or two people. Yeah. So it's almost impossible. And
I always felt that your points are fair.
Yeah.
I always felt democracy was better served the more people that participated.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that either.
and so I was like, yeah, okay. And I'll be honest, the sort of the Mark Wolfe back of the mind political calculus, like this is probably my political selfish best interest. Yeah.
It's, as it turns out, yeah. But it's funny when people ask me about sort of like the temperature and the what made up politics back when we basically had a Republican Party. I would tell them we just kept nominating Democrats as well as Republicans.
well, some of those Republican nominating conventions were interesting to say the least.
Yeah, there were a couple.
And I remember yours. Your mayoral. Exercise, and I was just like, oh, this is not fun at all.
Well, the great thing about that was, though, that at least from my perspective, after some amount of time, Hal and I were able to kind of, shake hands and mend fences, and with him and the balance of the council, we got some stuff done.
Yeah,
and that was the whole idea behind running for mayor. Anyway,
yeah,
it was politically one of the dumbest things I could have done.
Well, yeah. Well, and I was thinking about this. We have been very fortunate as a community. And you can say, okay, well, it's all Democrats now, or almost all Democrats now, and it used to be all Republicans. Yeah. And it's it's majority female, and there used to be no females and this and everything. But there's been a commonality of thought and thread for what we've done, at least in our years on it.
Yeah.
And sort of a consensus. Here's where we need to go. And there's the outliers, and there's, sometimes people get racked around the axle for, a penny on the tax rate or something.
They do.
But there's been a pretty broad consensus on how to move Manassas forward into the future. And what I've really enjoyed, frankly, the last 3 years is all the meetings you and I sat in with Liz Villa back in the day doing comp plan and stuff like that. Mathis Avenue and things like, that go back years and years and years and years. We've, by happenstance, been able to execute on them. And I know they're not universally popular, but everything we've done has sort of followed the plan that was laid out 20 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's between then and now, there's a lot of shades of gray, right?
Oh yeah.
There are very particular things that, like the not so much the roundabout, but the narrowness of the lanes. And I feel like that's a valid criticism. But again, like that's a shade of gray when you look at this big project that's going to basically recast the southern entrance to the city. So, that's a thing. And then the other thing is, I mean, you and I both found this out some years ago. People hate change.
Yes, they do.
The Battle Street project, that is among the most ridiculous projects. It's not a ridiculous project, but the amount of heat that it generated was ridiculous.
I remember it quite well. And again, kudos to you for leading the way on that. And I was very happy to be your second banana on that.
I appreciate your support.
And the grief that was generated, and the fact that we had to use gas funds to sneak it through. It was just like really, and so the return on investment that the city, just in dollars and cents, the city has realized on that project is exponential. It's just off the charts. But what I find amazing about that, and this probably is just everything you do, but I tell the story. A couple of years ago, Amy and I were having dinner at Public House. Mm-hmm. And there's a couple sitting there, and they're from Fairfax or Loudoun or wherever, and just had come down, and they were like, "Oh, this is just so cool. This is great. This is wonderful. How you've preserved the history, and these trees, and And I'm like, no. It used to be this way. All this is in the last 10 or 12 years. And they're like, they were dumbfounded.
Yeah. We got more grief from the staff about the trees.
They still hate on me about
still
the trees.
Salty about it.
Oh, they do. Mark and his trees. But I'm glad that we stuck to my subject because they make the space.
They do.
And I continue to fuss at staff about the size of trees that we put in. I was fussing about the ones on Grand Avenue the other day.
They're pretty minimal.
They underperformed, shall we say.
Yeah,
I was a little perturbed.
Some of them are literally twigs.
Yes. My wife calls them twigs.
Yeah, well, I mean, nobody, I don't want to say no one had ever tried something like the Manassas Neck stuff we tried. Yep. Certainly the Harris Pavilion was a heavy lift. Yep. Maybe heavier. But it seemed like it was, like we even had put together, remember we had the staff run the numbers on, well, if, these restaurants expand, when does the city get their money back from the $600,000 project? I think staff said it was 5 years, and I think it happened in 2.
Oh yeah, if not sooner. And I go to Elise over at Carmelo's every once in a while, and they're like, "You're welcome." I see hundreds of people in there just giving her money. Like, you're welcome. Yeah. And I appreciate the meals revenue and the ambiance and everything that comes from it. But I'm like, you're welcome.
Yeah. She's been a solid partner too.
Oh yeah. Well, the businesses have. And again, there's the government. Obviously, government, in my view, is an enabler.
That's right.
To grease the skids sometimes. But at the end of the day, it's the private sector. You've got to enable the private sector success because it really comes back to jobs. Yeah. And creating opportunities for people. And I think we've done a really good job of that. And we've been very fortunate in that the business sector, whether it's the small businesses like the restaurants in Old Town or elsewhere in the community, all the way up to Micron, they all buy into to the package, and everyone sort of got their niche to fill. And right now we're working on some really cool things to take that to the next level, and keep building success for the next 20 years after we're long gone. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you do want to try and enable that. I would agree with your comments about when I was on the council with you, we did have that sort of upward vision, right? But it was clear that with the resources the council at the time was going to put towards it, it was going to be somewhat slower.
Yes. Oh, painfully, frustratingly. I just told someone today. Then a political consultant I happened to run into, and she's like, you've been doing this so long. And I said, the last 2 or 3 years have actually been the funnest because, again, sort of by happenstance, happy coincidence of events and opportunities, we've been able to enact all these things that were in the plan, the comp plan from 2010 or whatever, 2000.
Well, and that Manassas stuff was on paper before I was in office.
Yeah.
So.
And Old Town Inn and Mifco, just all that stuff.
These are things that we didn't talk so much about Mifco back in the day, but Old Town Inn.
We all wanted to get rid of it. We always it's an eyesore.
Well, we didn't love it, but Old Town Inn was like, that was the big piece.
Yeah. And again, it's just the happenstance of the mayor working the relationship and getting a willing seller and the city being in a great financial position where we could pull the trigger and enable that to happen. And that's how these things come about.
Yeah, I see you guys get a lot of heat for quote unquote overpaying for Old Town Inn. And I think I got to put my leg over here. I think what a lot of people miss is that, did you overpay for the dirt? Sure.
Oh, yeah.
But you also had to buy that guy's business.
Yeah. So that guy's...
he always insisted on that, even when you and I were trying to break him down.
Yeah. That guy's business, God bless him. He was making an absolute cash cow.
Yeah.
He had no debt. He put no money into it. And he was walking away with very significant year-over-year profits, looking out into the future. So, we had to do that. But I have just absolutely no doubt that when we do redevelop the site, which I think is coming very soon, not as soon as I had hoped, but soon, we'll make our money back in relatively short order and B plus, and not to mention just the aesthetic benefit and the community benefits and the nexus that will form for the community.
Yeah,
it's going to be a huge home run.
I think there can be some grousing about the city overpaying, but if you don't buy the guy's business, the building doesn't go away, right?
And the overpaying also is sort of a here and now thing.
Yeah,
so it was okay, we overpaid, but if 2 years later, what we paid was the assessed value.
Right. Well, I don't think you overpaid for the dirt.
Yeah.
But you don't get the dirt
without the
business. Right. So I think that's maybe a finer point. Maybe some folks miss whatever. I'm going to have a little bit of fun with you.
Yeah.
Are you ready for the torches and pitchforks when you get rid of that parking there?
I know. And believe me,
because it's happening.
I know it is. And
even with that structured parking, it's coming.
It is, and we went through the citizen input process and appreciate all the inputs, but some of them, we didn't want it to be a dog park or a botanical garden or this or that, or a parking lot. We didn't spend $6.5 million for it to be a dog park or a parking lot. And parking's interesting. As I've done this for all these years and gone to innumerable conferences and VML sessions and stuff. And what you learn about parking is there is no right answer on parking. You actually, if you read the experts, you want a slight sense of scarcity of parking. Because if you go to cities that have just acres of parking, they're dead.
It seems empty.
Yeah,
I get that.
And so finally, that's what Battle Street. Remember, the conversation we went chapter and verse on this many times, and I thought the solution we ended up with, that I can't remember you or staff or whoever came up with,
staff did
just some slight parking because people are used to cars, but it's worked really, really well.
I think so.
Yeah. So there'll be an adjustment in the new parking deck. And I know some people don't like to be in parking decks, and we're going to work to try to make it as user-friendly as we can. We're working to fix some things over at the VRE lot deck. and brighten the lights and things like that.
Oh, inside the existing deck?
Yeah. So, you get the feedback and see what we can do to fix it.
That's all you can do. Are there any plans? I know you're talking about building an annex building, I believe, next to the one, and then the structure parking goes down at the bottom of the hill.
Yeah. That's the annex will come at some point later. But you got to build the structure parking first.
Yeah.
Just sort of a sequencing, and to do the structure parking, we got to tear up the current parking lot. So that's why you move the chairs on the boat. And then the structure parking also ties back into whatever other development you end up with, and what is the MIFCO side.
For sure, yeah.
And that's still, taking feedback and kicking the can around, seeing what we can come up with.
I'm afraid there aren't. I think it's one of those deals where if everybody that has an opinion walks away equally unhappy, it's probably an okay deal. I mean, that was always my gauge. It's
almost certain it's going to involve a significant chunk of housing. I think the question becomes A, how much commercial space, and B, what does the housing component look like? Is it apartments? Is it condos? Is it townhomes? If you do townhomes, then you don't get a level of density.
But where is this going to happen?
This is the MIFCO site, so.
Oh, so the deck is going to be built on the City Hall side of the MIFCO site.
Sort of in between.
So, okay.
A little bit of both.
All right. I didn't realize there was even a housing component there.
No, there's a housing component there, and because again, every urban planning person you talk to talks about density in the urban core and near transit.
Yeah.
And this also works back into some of the conversations about affordability of housing or attainability of housing. And I was at a conference a couple of years ago, and you've seen me at these things enough times, and a bunch of very well-intentioned people are talking, and then they made the mistake of giving me a microphone. and I was like, this is really great, but you're talking ones and twos and threes. You're not addressing the issue. There's no critical mass here. And I was like, until you address overall supply of housing, you will never, absent an insane amount of government subsidy, which is
we can't afford.
No, we're not going to afford it. And frankly, I'm not going to support it. Yeah. No one's going to go there. It's not going to happen.
I mean, this is something that we've never discussed before, and we're kind of just veering off. But I mean, is the notion giving and I'm not shit talking you. I'm not giving you a hard time. I'm saying, given the current, the value of the property, the current level of taxes, and how expensive it is in general just to live here. I mean, are the days of affordable housing, even the discussion of affordable housing, in a place like Manassas over?
Well, I think that's a very fair point, and that's part of that is I think the change in the phraseology to attainable housing rather than affordable housing.
I had not heard that.
Someone got paid gazillions of dollars to come up with that. It wasn't me. But the fact of the matter, to your point, is this is an expensive place to live, and you aren't going to change that dynamic. No. And what I'm trying to avoid is sort of the Seattle scenario, where you have people making $150,000 a year and they live on the street or they live in their car,
right?
Because every house is $1 million plus.
Yeah.
And to me, that ends up being economic death for a community. So part of the trying to thread the needle on all this stuff is increasing the supply of housing. To your point, between land cost, construction cost, insurance, I mean, the days of a large-scale starter home development
those are
gone. Yeah, that just doesn't exist
at least
anymore.
Here.
Yeah, well, I don't know where, but they're certainly here.
Yeah.
And I tell people, they're like, well, why can't we get stuff done quicker? And I was like, have you gone by the Van Meter project and looked at it? The amount of infrastructure they put into that just
across from GTS.
Across from GTS,
it's unbelievable.
It's insane.
And I feel like I was there like 2 days ago, and I came back from the beach on Monday, and there's 3 houses already busted up under roof.
Yeah, but you know, all the streets and the sewers and the stormwater retention and all this, that is megabucks.
Yeah.
That they had to front.
Yeah.
I mean, that's some cost for them.
Yeah.
So they have to recoup that money some way, somehow. And well, some people tend to forget that.
I mean,
on both sides of the political spectrum.
Yeah, I mean, you know, those developments that came to council when you and I served together. I mean, money is money, right?
Yeah.
If you want to have these things done, it's going to cost X dollars, and someone's got to pay it.
Yeah, I think and I don't want to speak for the council, but I think the sort of the consensus is the larger developments, you'll see a set aside for affordability, 5% or 10% of the units to some measure of AMI. I certainly am not in favor of us having a large scale housing administration. You know, if you look at Loudoun and Fairfax, and they have this bureaucratic departments that try to measure and control.
Really?
And do all this. Oh yeah.
Loudoun does?
Yes, Loudoun does.
Wow.
And
so, do we have any housing office anymore?
We have a housing. Well, we are our community development folks,
right?
And we are hiring a housing officer to help manage the process because there's grants to apply for and all sorts of stuff.
Right. Okay.
But not, you know, a 10-person, 20-person bureaucracy that's going around trying to micromanage this stuff. That's just, we don't have the scale, and frankly, that's not our philosophy of government.
Right. No, I get it. I mean, it's a lot to take on. And you're right. I mean, I think that your remarks about like, okay, well, this is a 100-unit development, and we're going to have 5 affordable housing units. It's just not going to make a meaningful impact. Yeah.
But by the same token, we're not going to do a large-scale, low-income. I get people Section 8 housing.
It's impossible.
No, we're not. That's not happening.
Dirt's too expensive.
Exactly. Absolutely right.
And you know what? We don't have a lot of. I mean, the last meaningful empty parcels we had are now being, you know, data centers are being built there. I'm not saying that's bad, and they were zoned industrial in any event.
Yeah.
But where you could have, you know, built them if you wanted to, those are gone. You know, the brick plant is gone.
Yep.
And these things, and I mean, anyways, where those parcels are, right across the street, almost across the street from Micron, is maybe not the best place to build a house.
Well, no, and that's the flip side of that is, of course, where the data center's at in the city. I think we've done a very good job of managing the data centers. A much better job than, say, Prince William County. My friends at Prince William. We don't put them next to houses. We don't put them next to schools.
I think they're in okay
they're in
places.
Appropriate places.
Yeah,
they're in industrial areas.
They're in okay places.
But this gets back to sort of, because I know some people are, you know, why is the government getting engaged in buying property? And I'll use the MIFCO site as an example. So, you know, that's zoned industrial. By right, someone could put a data center there.
Yeah, or a 100-foot tall building.
Or a 100-foot tall building, or a storage facility or something like that. That 99% of the people would sit there and go, this is not appropriate use in the middle of Old Town.
Correct.
But by right, they can do it.
That's how it's zoned.
By buying it, you know, the Manassas is the same idea. By buying it and then partnering with the private sector, we make sure that the use that goes in there is consistent with the larger vision.
Right. I don't, you know, the Old Town Inn thing, I think most people are on. People will quibble, but I think most people are on board with that. The buying the school over there, that came as kind of a bolt out of the blue. And I think people probably are still digesting that one because, and you know, you guys are going through the process about like, what do you guys want to see here and stuff like that. And I'm sensitive to, and I know you are. I know that I'm sensitive to the discussion about, well, like the city's buying too much property.
Yep.
And, you know,
now I got to sell some.
Right. But, you know, the Mathis thing, I'll be honest, I didn't love it.
Yeah.
I understand 100% the thinking behind it because I voted for some of those projects where we said, when we bought the old DMV,
Yep.
we need to control the use.
Yep.
I certainly get it. But it seems like it's just been a lot of buying.
Well, again, it's been...
and I understand the funds came from all over the place, right?
It's just sort of been a happy coincidence. Everyone's been a little bit different. So like I said, the Old Town Inn was frankly the mayor's efforts. Mathis, share the story, came through me. I had a meeting with, when we did the Old Town Inn, I had a meeting with a developer who's didn't have a dog in the old downtown fight, but I was just picking his brain as to, okay, what could we do? What do you see? Because you're really good at this. And at the end of the day, it was like, well, I got a question for you. And it's like, okay. And he's like, well, would the city be interested in purchasing Mathis Shopping Center? And I go, yeah. Well, that's been made clear over many years. And he says, does the city have the money, a number? And I was like, yeah, we do. So then I put them with staff and came to council, and we were able to make the transaction simply because at that point the owner became willing to sell.
Yeah, and that's a big piece of it, right?
And you can't force him to sell. The Marsteller is similar. We had a deal to purchase that 5 or 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it fell through at the last minute. And I'll be honest, I was a little miffed when it fell through because we'd gotten a federal grant to help pay for a good chunk of it. Deal went away. There were some ideas floated about getting rid of the green space back there and developing housing and things like that. And the council was just like, would never approve that.
Right.
So then the church came back to us and was like, all right, could we do this just sort of out of the blue? And again, a situation where, because of very prudent financial management, we have the availability of funds, and it tied into preserving the green space and ball fields and things.
And that's important right now.
Yeah, it's very important. But the other thing is, one of the things goes back to the Great Recession. If you remember.
I remember.
We killed our Parks and Rec department. I mean, we blew it up.
I think there was maybe a part-time person
left. Yeah. And one of the things that constantly comes back in the citizen surveys and anecdotal discussions is more and more recreational opportunities and programming for kids and seniors and adults. Well, you got to have a place to do it. And we have the partnership with the Boys and Girls Club, and it's sort of tucked away there behind Dean and stuff. And when this came available on the other side of town, it's like, doesn't get any better than this.
Right.
And
Dean's pretty well booked at this point.
Dean's pretty well booked. And then the other piece was, at some point, we're going to build another fire station. And because the old Station 1 is on its last legs.
Come on.
I know. Been saying that for years and years and years. But we don't have to sleep there.
There is that.
And it turns out that where Marsteller is at is the ideal location from response time perspective to put the new fire station. So that sort of cinched the deal.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's certainly space.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a decent high volume road.
Yeah.
I mean, but like I said, it's always, the Mathis one, that doesn't, how far down?
It goes to the ballet. So the O'Reillys and the mosque are not a part of it. But
they're not?
They're not.
Okay. Is anything going on at the mosque? Did they actually?
Oh, no, they're quite active.
Oh, are they?
Yeah. And they actually have a permit for an expansion. I don't know if they haven't exercised.
I don't go down that far usually. I go to Rice's or the ABC store or whatever. I'm not going to dance in the ballet. That's not happening, brother.
It's not going to be like Hal and Marty?
No, and Jimmy. No. Oh, well, I mean, so that's a big piece of it, though.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but I look at that, and I mean, I remember looking at that sector plan back in 2006 and thinking, there's no way. I mean, some of those buildings were huge.
And, the sector plan, it calls for like 8-story office buildings and stuff. And And I'm like, that ain't happen. That's not going to happen.
No.
But it's an opportunity to renew
Yeah.
a significant part of the city. It will eventually, and it's going to take years and years and years and years to get it done. But then it will put pressure on, frankly, on the Centerville corridor, the other side of the street,
Yes.
Manassas.
Yeah.
And you'll see an evolution through the private sector.
Now the EDA bought that, right?
Technically, yes.
Yeah. Well, that's the way it
Yeah,
has to happen, right?
Yeah.
So, what do you think that, like, you guys have just been through the budget process? Is that finalized?
Done.
Okay. So, what did you this year, as opposed to the last year or the year before? Like, what was the big challenge for you guys?
The big challenge is as it ever is, trying to have taxes as low as possible while still maintaining the level of services that people expect and
Right.
I think reflect through the political process.
Right.
Very few people, almost no one ever comes up to me and says, "I want less."
No.
And what people probably, again, I probably know the budget better than anyone other than, our director of finance.
Yeah.
Is the budget is 80+% people. So
Yeah.
if you're going to cut the budget, you're not cutting things, you're cutting people. So
Yeah.
that, and again, 80% of that is teachers, fire, police. So, you want less response times, you want less traffic enforcement, you want whatever
nobody
it
says
is.
that.
Yeah, and no one supports that.
It's it's during the Great Recession. I remember, like, the way we balanced the budget was we wrecked the Parks and Rec department.
Lots of things.
We almost killed the museum.
Yep.
We laid off a couple of police officers.
Yep.
That was one of the toughest votes I ever had to make, because those people, not surprisingly, showed up and sat in council chambers, and we had to look at them
Yep.
and vote to put them out of a job.
Yep.
That was horrible.
Yes, it is. And now we're sort of in this strange world for public employees, just like you face here in Matrix. You're competing for talent,
Yeah.
and you got to pay, and you're paying a hell of a lot more now than you were 3 or 5 years ago.
Absolutely.
I'm willing to bet.
Yeah.
And it's that way at the ballet. It's the way at the city, and particularly as long as to be honest, as long as the county has the fountain of data centers, giving them money that they got a hard time figuring out what to do with. It's a challenge because it's going to their teachers, it's going to their fire, it's going to their police, and people have choices.
They steal our people.
They steal our people.
Yeah.
And to try to remain competitive and leverage our other strengths. So the schools, I think, do a good job of if you want to work in a quality small environment, we're your place. If you want to be, and I had someone the other day, it was like they were going to the county. It's like, where are you going to the county? As well, it's, in Manassas, it's a 3-person department.
Right.
And in the county, it's 40 or 50 people, and I've got career pathing.
Sure.
And I'm like, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. I can't compete. It's just, and that's fine. It's
Yeah.
just, it's what works for you.
It is what it is.
But the other piece is, it works even going inside. So again, whether it's Fairfax or Loudon, Arlington, Alexandria, we're looking to steal our people all the time. And you can't do that if you got a constant just like your business. You got a constant revolving door. Your customer service goes to hell. Your productivity goes down.
Yeah, well, and there's a couple of important departments, including the guys that carry guns.
Yeah.
Who you don't want, to ever have, and a very large stream of, entry level turnover, because does it still take a year to train a recruit from a guy who walks in off the street?
Oh, yeah,
So,
at least.
Yeah, it's a year. Yeah. And these guys, they need to be highly trained because it's a tough job, and you want them to be highly skilled.
Yes, and I tell people again the difference is in the level service, and I don't mean to be flippant about this, but again, wish our taxes were lower. I said, well, you go to Culpeper, they're lower. But it's a half hour for the EMS guys to get there as opposed to 3 minutes. And if you're having a heart attack, those 27 minutes might be important to you. I mean, I go back to, you'll remember when Chief Skinner came to us one day and said, I need 4 more officers. And you and I, and this was the 11th hour of the budget process.
I remember we were in Larry Hughes' office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like, how are we going to do this? And we couldn't get John Way's vote. And so we had to raise the cigarette tax to figure out a way to get the revenue to pay for the 4 officers, because I was like, be darned, if the police chief tells me he needs the men, I'm going to get him the people.
Yeah. The department size had just not kept up with the demands.
No.
Yeah, that was tough.
That was really tough.
That was tough. Yeah, I think we fiddled with the cigarette tax and maybe a couple of other things. We took some heat for that cigarette.
Oh, we did.
And so, like, what do you?
But there's no free lunch.
Well, no, there's not. There's not. I mean, do you think though that people? I mean, some of the people, including me, it's like, can we do something? Do you guys? I mean, give us a sense of like how. You remember how hard we worked on the budget back in the day. Mm-hmm. And, we started off with this thing, and it was whatever the estimate was, it was always too high.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, do you guys still go through a process like that where you really feel like you're trying to pinch pennies?
Yeah, the process is different. I remember.
We have different team,
yeah. I remember going back, the old days when with Marvin and Bob Oliver and those guys, and I tell, people, the rest of the council has no sense. I was like, there used to be the Excel spreadsheet from hell.
Oh yeah,
and
it was horrible.
And Pat would sit there and call the roll on literally hundreds of items on this Excel spreadsheet. It's a little more consolidated than that. Mm-hmm. We start off giving the manager guidance. Here, and that's a political sense to the council.
Sure.
Okay, and frankly, the last few years, typically it's been, no, we want to keep the tax rate the same. And if we can go lower and maintain services, we will. So this last year, we added no new programs other than like 3 part-time people for the Marsteller, because if you're going to have the building, you got to staff it.
Yeah.
And most of the money we had went to schools to help them be competitive for their teacher pay, their staff pay. The one thing I wanted that I wasn't able to get, I actually wanted to get rid of the car fee, the $25 car. I hate that thing.
Yeah.
But I couldn't get 4 votes, and so I'll try again next year.
Yeah.
The process, but again, we have, I don't know, 10 or 12 budget meetings, 2 or 3 hours each.
Yeah, I mean, they were
departments by departments, and but at the end of the day, what we don't do is A, try to manage the departments, and B, count paper clips.
Right.
That's not efficient use of our time, and not what we're good at, and I just don't think it's
and I mean, the chief of police
process.
is more qualified than anybody there to tell you. I need this many bullets.
I've been around long enough. Chief King comes to me and says, "I need X," and I'm like, "Makes sense." How? And then my job is to figure out how I can do it. Same thing with the schools. And sometimes the answer is no. I was prepared for less money for the schools to give the money back on the car tax, but that's not where the bulk of the council wanted to go. So.
Yeah, when my first year in office, when we went through the budget, you've got 3 huge binders. One was a line item printout of the budget.
Yeah.
So the police department needs 800 bullets.
Yeah.
And 600 paper clips.
Yeah, we don't do that anymore.
Well, I did it. I sat through it the first year, and they also had, I think, 2 or 3 Saturday full day meetings.
Yep.
And the second year, I told them, I'm not doing that. This is ridiculous.
Yep.
Unfortunately, I had a couple other guys that Avaney had been elected with me that first year, and we basically said, look, this is not because Mark's experience, he was a government employee.
Yeah.
So he's very much used to putting together these budgets, right? And we both said, look, you want to do a Saturday work session and like drill into something, we're on board. But if we're just going to sit here and flip through page after page, I mean, there must have been 500 pages in this thing.
Oh yeah.
And, and we didn't have laptops or iPads. Well, we had laptops, but we never got like much in the way of digital.
No. It was all paper back in the big binders.
Yeah. So,
and then a separate one for the CIP.
That's exactly right. And we told them and that was kind of the end of those long Saturday meetings, because, I agree that your department chiefs are in a much better position to say look, here's the things I got to have. And if we got a couple of extra bucks, I like to have this. Yeah. And, then that gives the council some, decision making, and there's horse trading, and this is just the way it works.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Yeah, it was pretty painful my first year too. I dreaded it. I really did. I dreaded it. So how's are we good on time?
Yeah, far away.
Something that I've been passionate about, not that you or anybody else have, is getting the schools. The schools suffer. Their performance is they struggle, and a lot of that can be tied to incomes and stuff like that. And those are all very difficult problems to solve. But have the council and the schools had any sort of back and forth about how can the council help support the schools and the community with something? Does that kind of stuff happen at all?
It actually happens more now than it used to.
That's good.
And so we actually talk a lot more than I think we back in the day.
Yeah.
Don't always agree by any stretch. And I will get people say, you need to fix the schools.
Yeah, it's hard.
And I'm like, ain't in the job description. That's why you elect a school board. And I think my job is to help them and support them and be a cheerleader. But you do not want Mark Wolfe getting into the management of the schools. Right. By any way, shape, or form. But having said that, I mean, again, I've got a really great relationship with the superintendent, and Kevin calls me up and says, Mark, I need blah, 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 and can you help get through, the counselor or take it to the manager or whatever? I do it. Right. And so this year is great. This year's actually a pretty good example. So the schools have identified the need for alternate education in a setting where, frankly, that we can control, and that.
What does that mean? What's
is
that the kids that aren't behaving?
Yeah, well, kids that are behaviorally challenged, shall we say, and we right now ship some of them to a facility that county schools have, and we have so many slots, sort of like governor's school.
Right.
And we don't have enough slots. And there's nowhere to do it, and therefore, kids that might be helped in more with a one-on-one or small group setting are forced into the classroom, or forced online at home. Well, that doesn't. I ain't gonna get done. So, school board identified this as something they really think can move the needle, both in terms of overall performance, but in helping individual kids. So I put my business hat on it, and I was like, well, this is great. Show me an example where this has been done somewhere else. Right. Give me a model.
I don't know what it looks like.
Yeah. And so, okay. So they went back, and we went back and forth on this several times. And we're getting ready to take a vote to allow the schools to use some of their surplus, which actually is city surplus, but it's money the schools didn't spend, reverts back to the city.
It's complicated.
It's complicated. It's a state code 2.2-100.1, if I remember.
There you
go. Yeah. Anyway, so as a pilot program, and this ties back into the facility, the building on Centerville Road, so they have a place to house these kids. So it all ties together, all makes a degree of sense, and at least speaking for me, I was like, conceptually this makes sense. You're gonna have to prove it, because at the end of the day, if this pilot works, well, they're not going to have fund balance going forward, and we somehow are going to have to therefore come up with a bunch of money.
That's expensive space to put.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like Class B or Class A office space, man.
Well, you don't. Yeah.
Well, so the question that everyone's going to ask me, right, is this sounds fantastic. Why not use Marsteller?
Well, and Marsteller is, well, the thing with Marsteller is everyone wants to use Marsteller. It's just, I can't tell you. I mean, if Marsteller had 200,000 square feet, we could still probably find uses for all of it. And we're going to knock down a significant part of Marsteller,
right,
to accommodate the fire station. So there's really not that much space. And I think we've tried, I think the city, the staff, I think supported by the council, has been very clear. This is a recreational space. Right. We want to keep it as that. This is not a multi-purpose.
Yeah, because as soon as you make it a school, it's off limits.
Yeah, it's a whole. And then you got a whole nother set of parameters and security issues and everything else that comes with it.
So I mean, but the problem seems to be like if you do this, what are you calling it? Alternative school. Like it could well be a victim of its own success in short order.
It might be, and so this is one of those things we've got to do proof of concept.
Right.
See if it works, plus minus. We'll see. If it does, then that's a problem we're going to have to address. Now, fortunately, please, dear God, by that time we will start to see more the revenue stream off some of these data centers,
right?
That aren't
bank-owned
computers.
I'm not going to.
No.
I'm not drilling into.
Oh no, that's fine. I got no problem with
it to
that.
me. I get it.
Yeah. When that happens, we will see.
Maybe you could pay
some money come in. We can pay that, and I'll be very honest. I'm hoping we can make a significant, whack in the ongoing tax rate, because it will be a large chunk of revenue coming into the city. And I've been very, again, I just speak for myself. I don't want to be in the situation where the county is trying to find ways to use the money. We have a level of services I think we're very comfortable with, and we'll maintain them, but we're not looking to, have gold-plated police cars or whatever else,
Well, you could always use all that revenue to build more traffic circles.
We could. I put it on Facebook. It was actually pretty funny. We were
I saw that.
A figure eight. And it actually works pretty well.
Does it?
It's in Snyder, which is a suburb of Buffalo, and it's just a funny intersection where you had like 6 or 7 streets sort of come together, and when Amy grew up there was no traffic circle, and we're driving by, and all of a sudden now they have a traffic circle. But I was like, oh yeah, people are just.
I mean, they do work. When Erin graduated from college, she did a semester study abroad, and we ended up going to Ireland and then Paris for a couple of days. It's kind of a vacation you don't take all that.
Absolutely.
And the Arc de Triomphe is a traffic circle.
A 12-lane traffic circle.
It's unbelievable how big it is. And then when we flew to India for her wedding, India is full of traffic circles. I mean, there are so few traffic lights in the cities that, and sometimes they'll have just like one light next to a 4-lane or 5-lane traffic circle, and they'll have a cop standing next to it. And it's chaos. But as soon as that light turns red, all the traffic feeding into it stops. They all obey that one, and it's mounted on a post in a corner like they do in D.C. So, I think it's...
Well, the one on Grant, I think actually has worked really well. I know some people don't like it, and I get that. But the whole idea on Grant, we talked about that project earlier, was to remove that highway Let's call it. It's what it was. It was a highway.
It was.
Going through the middle of that neighborhood and slow traffic down. And it's done that. And, the narrowness of the road, helped slow the traffic, but that also was just a byproduct of we had so much right of way and
yeah, I mean,
didn't want to take more land.
My beef with the narrowness of the road is a practical one.
Yeah.
That is, like, so, I drive a truck, right?
Yeah.
So if I have to pull up over that thing and, to get out of the way of a fire truck and maybe, knock some guy off his bike who's on the shared use path, that's okay. But, if I'm someone who's, driving a little two-door sedan, you ain't getting over that curb.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is a problem. But, there's a couple of other routes for that to go. So there's a traffic circle there at CVS. Is that still a thing?
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, that will start. We're in the midst of land acquisition, but it's been funded. So I assume next year that will start construction. And again, reasonable people can disagree, and I understand that. Everything I have seen from the traffic studies, we have spent more money on traffic studies for that traffic circle. I think we've done 3.
Wow.
They all show the same thing. This may be the mimeograph copied the same.
I mean, the consultants are happy, right?
The consultants are making a fortune here. But talking to the people in MBTA and VDOT,
are they paying for this?
Yeah, MBTA is.
Are they?
Yeah, and
that's
obviously
good.
We contribute to that, but yeah. But they're all very much like, oh no, this is like one of the most impactful projects around. That this will make a significant difference. So they buy into that. My frustration, one of my great frustrations, of course, is the loss of the bypass.
Like, full disclosure, I never loved that thing, but I understood it. Yeah. Right? Because my concern with it was that it would turn that road, Godwin up through the, Godwin, it's a kind of a sleepy, divided 4-lane. Yep. Maybe in the afternoon.
That little section would get a lot busier.
It's going to get a lot busier. And that's why I didn't love it. But I thought that the routing along a sewer right away made a lot of sense.
It's why it's dirt now. It's never been built on.
And it's never going to be.
No.
No. I mean, about the only thing you can do is maybe put a mountain bike path there.
Yeah.
That would be about it. Yeah. Because no one else wants to be there.
Yeah. It's my frustration was twofold. Number one, and again, the Board of Supervisors can do what they want to do.
Yeah, it's their call.
They didn't bother to reach out to us and solicit any feedback or input on it. But then they followed it up by adding thousands of houses in Bristow and Vint Hill who are going to go down that, through Old Town Manassas. And it's just, and again, I live right there. I look out my window. And, it is negatively impacting the quality of life of the citizens of Manassas.
Sure.
And
no, I get that.
I'm very, very frustrated on that piece.
Have you heard anything? I mean, this is what we talk about here, traffic.
Yeah.
Coming into the city from the north on 28. There's 2 or 3 left-hand turn lanes onto Liberia now. Is there any sort of...
Well, so... And I'll tell the story.
But I'll say this first. This is not an issue that Manassas alone can fix.
No. But so when the Board of Supervisors took their vote to kill the bypass, I had lobbied extensively, personally. I was in the room. Vote didn't go the way I hoped it would.
Right.
And as we leave, I walk out and I run into Prince William County's transportation director. I was like, "What's your plan B?" And it was,
what is this plan B you speak of?
No. And then it was essentially, well, we could widen the existing 28 down to Liberia and force everyone to turn left coming from the north down Liberia. And I was like, oh, so your plan is to take and put more traffic on one of the most congested roads in Northern Virginia.
Right.
That is Plan B. I mean,
That's not a...
Yeah.
So the short answer is no, there's not a lot.
No, there's not. And as I told him, I says that's further compounded because you're taking people east. Most of these people actually want to go south and west.
Right.
And he's like, well, we take them around Liberia and they get on the parkway. And I'm like, this is just the most convoluted, this is a disaster waiting to happen. And at some point, and this is looming at us, the more and more you work in Liberia, then you got a bottleneck at the bridge.
That's right.
And expanding that bridge is a fortune. Yes, indeed, boys and girls. That needs to be a federal infrastructure project. Because
Chuck Norris not around anymore, right? That
may need to be a set aside to our congressman or something.
Yeah. I remember when Colgan got the money to build that overpass. It was just like the day the GA
again, it's about change.
Yeah.
Most people don't realize there did not used to be an overpass at the railroad tracks on Center Road.
Right. And then the governor signed that budget and everyone was like, I can't believe this is going to be real. Yeah, that's definitely a thing. So what do you see for like coming towards the city? What do you think are our biggest challenges and opportunities?
Traffic is a significant challenge. Affordability of housing is a significant challenge. Just to be able to, for businesses like yours and ours,
right,
to be able to afford for their workers to be able to live not necessarily here, but near here.
But near here.
And that whether the same thing at the ballet with our dancers. Housing is a challenge, and I get people, you're building more housing, Well, yeah, because otherwise give me an answer.
There's not enough.
Yeah. Supply and demand has not been repealed.
Right.
So, to me, those are the biggest upcoming challenges. I think we're doing a lot on, you can always do more, but I think we're doing a lot on the workforce, the schools through their CTE program, Nova. I was just at a thing at George Mason. There's a lot of energy and focus going on about that. The opportunities, I think, are almost staggering before us. Just being, redeveloping Manassas, what we can do in Old Town will be huge. But from an large-scale economic perspective, commercial service at the airport will have untold benefits.
When is that supposed to?
Again, this gets back to, how do I say this? The administration. So apparently there was a guy at FAA that was in charge of new airport certification.
Oh.
He's gone.
He's no longer.
His boss is gone. So the institutional knowledge at FAA, which has probably been a difficult organization to begin with, has gone. So that hasn't helped. We have, last I was told, they hope to start a couple 3 flights maybe next spring.
Oh, cool.
Just sort of test the marketplace and stuff. Yeah. Right now they're doing testing of the bridge under the runway that the runway runs on. To make sure it'll handle the loads. And
that thing's been out there a minute.
Been out there a while. But there is some businesses we have in the area. People have seen me talk about and post about Electra and what they're doing. And if we could expand their production facility here, whether it's in the county or city, is irrelevant. That would be a huge, huge thing because that's essentially an entire new industry that would be.
Are they the drone guys over here?
No. These are the guys that build the short takeoff electric powered planes.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, so they have test flown. They're getting their certification. They got $120 million in seed funding the other day.
That's nice.
Yeah, that covers a lot of sins.
Yeah.
And they have like 8 or 10 billion in back orders. And they're looking for a 10-acre site to build a production facility, employ 1,300 people making big bucks because they're all engineers and skilled craftsmen.
Do we even have 10 acres?
I can find 10 acres. And then, I got the drone guys, Rapid Flight. Senator Warner was over there the other day. And again, they do amazing things. And if we can get them to, build a bigger scale production facility here, that's jobs, that's national defense, that's just win-win-win.
Yeah.
There is the what's called the Innovation District. So this is a partnership between George Mason, the county, and the city, which includes the airport and gateway and our technology corridor, as well as the George Mason campus and Innovation Park and some areas over there.
Right.
A really concerted effort to try to sort of leverage the nexus of all the pieces that we have from a tech, whether it's AI to chip to aerospace,
right?
Because all these technologies essentially converge or
They do.
overlap.
They do.
And really make this one of the premier areas for that in the nation over the next, again, this is a 20, 30, 50 year horizon.
Sure.
Part of that is I make no bones about this. We need to expand the footprint of the airport somewhere somehow, just so we can control our own destiny.
Yeah, it's got one parcel of land that's still green space across the street from the airport offices, but that's about it.
Well, and there's stuff the other side of the creek, between the creek and Bridgeville Road.
Right, but not a ton.
Yeah. No, well, I don't know, 40, 50 acres.
Oh, well, that's what I thought.
Yeah. So seeing how all this comes together will be really exciting.
Oh, you're talking about sod farm.
Yeah, the sod farms. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's you go down there and you look around and you're like, there.
yeah. And what I don't, it goes back to when I was much younger in my business career, and they built DFW Airport, and then they built a bunch of houses around DFW Airport, and then all of a sudden they started having noise restrictions and challenge complaints.
Yeah.
And who knew there was an airport here?
Yeah.
So to be able to control that space. Again, not saying we, sort of like the investments the city made in Gateway years ago.
Sure.
Sort of the next evolution of that.
Well, I mean, the airport bought a bunch of that property at Moore Green.
Yeah.
Across the way because they wanted to try and keep the noise complaints to a minimum. So, I mean, it's not, and especially out there, at the airport, the money at the airport is weird, right? It always seems to come from some other place. And it just shows up on a council agenda.
Our staff is incredibly good about getting federal and state grants.
They are
for the airport, and with the commercial service that should just continue to grow. We are, again, a little town of 45,000 people and 10 square miles, and we have a big ass airport. And the other thing is, again, most people don't realize some of the stuff that goes on at that airport. There are some hangars you do not go into.
That's correct. They do not. We
could fight a very good sized war. Some of the things at that airport.
We still have one client out there. A lot of the businesses that we used to service out there have been bought by Boeing or whoever.
Exactly.
But there's still one out there that we do business with. But we used to have a client there who I know you were familiar with.
Yes.
But across the way was, the hangar that only opened when something was coming out or going back in, and then it closed.
Yep.
And those guys, they're still there.
Yep.
And they have a huge hangar now.
Yes.
But no, I mean the government's involved there, and that's okay too.
Yep.
They at the time, I think they actually did us a favor by buying that or leasing probably that one big hangar. But yeah, no, I mean, it was. You ever seen the picture of Manassas Airport on 9/11?
No.
There's airplanes everywhere on the ground.
Imagine, yeah.
And, some of them are pretty big passenger jets because we have that one runway, right? Yeah. That can take.
That we're going to lengthen.
Is that right?
Yeah, we're going to add another 300 feet or 500 feet to it. So.
Wow. But no, it's, I guess it's officially classed as a reliever for Dulles. Yeah. Maybe if there was an incident at Dulles, I don't think a 380 could land there, but
no, not a 380 or a 787, but
737 stuff like that.
The 737s for sure.
Yeah.
And they're dropping those C-130s out there all the time.
Yeah. It's remarkable, and it's even more remarkable that I don't know about now, but over the course of its history, since a very activist board took it over 10 years before. It doesn't use taxpayer money.
No, and actually.
Well, it doesn't use local taxpayer money.
No, that's true. Yeah, we use a lot of federal and state taxpayer money. No, the locality, city of Manassas, the residents of Manassas pay exactly zero.
Yeah.
Towards that airport, and it has a very healthy surplus. And we're going to build a new tower out there. So
it needs it.
Yeah, it needs it.
It needs
desperately. So we're going to do that. But again, hopefully, between talking to our senators and congressmen around the area, then we get the feds to, get that slipped in as an earmark somewhere.
Yeah. I remember that when I first got on council, Waldron appointed me as the guy to the airport board. I think mainly to just get me out of the way.
Yep.
And I went out there. I'm a businessman.
Yep.
We need to run this thing like it's a business. And, the citizens need to stop paying for it. And they were like, well, the good news is
that's right.
Citizens don't pay for this.
No.
So my job became kind of just sort of sit down and shut up and pay attention.
I am the liaison to the airport. I have a meeting there tomorrow.
Do you? What's your, like when I was on the council, we were out 4 nights a week. Is it still that heavy?
Yeah, it is. So I have airport, solid waste, all the COG stuff. I just picked up this innovation project. We have a liaison or person on that. So that's me now. It's still, between and that and just the public hearings and committees and stuff.
Yeah.
It's not a full-time job, but it is not just show up for 2 hours,
right?
Once a month type thing.
Cool. And you have homework.
Yeah.
You can't go into those meetings unprepared. Yeah. You look like an idiot.
Yep.
Yeah, that's not a lot of fun. Anything else?
I'm trying to think. No, it's
anything going on you want people to know about?
Well, I guess where I would close with is, we're not perfect, and I don't do everything right, perfect, and please everyone all the time. Nor does the Council of Government. But and you've heard me say this before. Manassas operates in the big leagues.
Yeah.
Northern Virginia is the big leagues of communities across the nation, frankly, around the world. And we compete in that space just because of who we are, where we are. But I get friends come here and visit. And universally, they come around town and they are awestruck and dumbfounded by what we have here. And I have a dear friend of mine, he and his wife are my oldest friends. And he's a city council member in Chanute, Kansas.
Oh, wow.
Town I grew up in, 9,000 people in southeastern Kansas. And he's just like, this is, what you do here is amazing. Just absolutely amazing. And he knows enough. He was former chairman of the school board and is on the council. He gets it. He knows it. And he'd pick up on stuff like, you don't have potholes. And, just the little details. And I tell people, if you took Manassas and you stuck it in the middle of Wyoming, people would be like, this is nirvana. This is the coolest place ever. We have a happy coincidence of where we were at and the opportunities that, frankly, the guys before us helped create.
Oh yeah. I mean, it wasn't Harrover or Wolfe building the airport.
No,
Manassas or any of that crap.
No, it wasn't. But our obligation is to continue that for those that will come after us.
Right.
And I'm only going to do this so long. 20 years from now, 30 years from now, people go, Mark Wolfe, huh? Yeah, no more than they remember Bob Oliver or John White, to be honest. And that's and that's fine. That's the way it should be.
I'm thankful for it.
But we try hard, we work hard, we try hard, and we got a great situation, and we just keep making it better.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's interesting that in the very nearly complete turnover of governance in Manassas from people who, like when I ran, you weren't getting the nomination if you didn't have a pretty extensive.
Well, you weren't getting the nomination if John Gregory didn't say, "Well, now's your turn."
100%. But I had at the time I had been running my business for about 7 years. I was born and grew up and lived here. Same for my dad.
Yep.
And, I had served on the church board, the serve board, another board. I had done all this other stuff. And, when it came time for the meeting about who was going to run, I still got the hairy eyeball.
Oh, yeah. Very much so.
So, yeah, I mean, it was a thing, but it did ensure, I don't want to say good governance, but solid fiscal foundations.
We have been blessed, and to go back to Larry Hughes, Pat Pate, all the managers we've had, in the staff, Pat Fields and Diane Bergeron now.
Is she the director of finance now?
Yeah.
Wow, she's been here. Wow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we have been incredibly well served as a community. And part of this gets back to we've been able to create an environment, a political environment, a social environment, where people want to stay. And they live there, Matt Arcieri, who does our community development, he used to work for Liz. He was Liz's #1 assistant, and he succeeded. So there was continuity, there's consistency of vision.
That's big.
Yeah, that's huge to me. And to be able to have that situation perpetuate really, really does us a great service to the citizens.
Yeah, the staff is solid. I mean, there's probably not a whole lot of examples where the chief of police steps up, lifeboats all of your institutional knowledge for a year and a half, and then hands it off to another guy who is also an internal employee, and then the chief beats feet back to the police department.
Yeah. Oh no, we've been very, very fortunate, and sometimes bad things happen, and stuff, but on bulk, been very, very good.
Cool. Anything else, buddy?
No, we're good.
All right, man. Thanks for your time.
Come to the ballet.
Come to the ballet. Okay.